Joining us now, as he does each week, is Paul Rieckhoff, the host of the Independent Americans podcast. Paul's a U.S. Army veteran, national security analyst. As always, good to see you. Let's start with this. I mean, what's going on here? Albany was a reminder of all this anti-Semitism around the country.
Hate is on the rise.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism is happening in speech and in action, and I think people have a right to be concerned. It's happening across the country. It's happening on college campuses, and I think folks are scared. They're worried for their personal security. They're worried for their families, and it's become a national security issue. We've talked about it in the past. When Americans are divided, when Americans are in conflict, it's good for our enemies. It's good for folks like Putin and Hamas that want to see Americans attacking other Americans. So I think it has to be prioritized as a national security issue, not just a local issue,
right,
not just a municipality issue, but a true national security issue.
Now, you mentioned college campuses. I said right at the start of the show that, that congressional hearing was something else because these college presidents, the three presidents, you really couldn't get a straight answer when the question seemed rather simple. And we'll just listen to a little bit of this, the back and forth with Congresswoman Elise Stefanik with the major university presidents about anti-Semitism on their campuses. This is what it sounded like.
At MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
At Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
At Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
All right. Depending on the context, there was an apology today from the president of Harvard. There had been calls for the president of the University of Pennsylvania to resign. A lot of big donors saying they're going to pull. It was $100 million donation threatened to be pulled. What's going on college campuses?
Disgraceful leadership. Absolute abdication of leadership on behalf of people who are supposed to be educating the next generation of Americans.
That should cost people their jobs, you
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not only college presidents, they're supposed to be role models. They're supposed to be showing young students how to debate, how to make cohesive arguments, how to be leaders. Right. And this is the opposite of that. So if I have a kid who's at one of these schools, I'm looking at him saying, where are you taking my kids? Not in addition to the security issue because they don't feel safe. But this is a terrible example for our young people. So they should be out. I wouldn't want to send my kids there, and I would ask for them to resign or be fired.
Yep, there have been a number of calls for resignations, and we may very well see that. And but before certainly the
and
weekend
money speaks.
Is out.
The donors,
Exactly
and the
right.
alumni are making their voice heard, and I think that they're having a huge impact.
Next topic for you, Paul, is one that you've talked a lot about, both on this show. I know you talk about it on social media all the time. Senator Tommy Tuberville from Alabama, that blockade on military promotions, he drops it, kind of. Some people say caves, but your final thought on this escapade, maybe your final thought on Senator Tuberville for a while.
Well, he did cave because the pressure was bipartisan and it was really universal, and he finally backed down. I think the good news is 400 military families got a raise and are going to have a better holiday. They have some clarity and some certainty. Unfortunately, it's not over because he's just narrowed the stupidity to hold now only 4 stars, which include 11 senior officers that we need in a time of global conflict. So I wish I could say it was over and it's an early holiday gift, but it looks like it may still continue.
And the final topic I want to talk about, we just got back from our debate in Alabama, aired on NewsNation, which of course was sanctioned by the RNC, the Republican National Committee. Now, there's been a lot of talk about widening this out and having kind of unsanctioned debates among the candidates. And I know sort of to that point, and even widening it further, you had Andrew Yang on your podcast, the Independent Americans podcast, and you guys were talking about, and you talk about this all the time, the impact of kind of independent candidates and their voices in the debates. Let's listen to a clip of that, and we'll talk about this topic. Here's Paul on his podcast with Andrew Yang.
Should all independents drop out so they're not spoilers? Because I've been one of many saying I support independents at the local level. I want to see open primaries and ranked choice voting and change of the system. But I don't want independents continuing to give us a bad name.
I'm an anyone but Trump guy, and I'm a numbers guy. So people ask me, like, hey, are you considering running? And if I were to run, I would increase the chances of Trump winning. So I would not do that, and I would not run.
Okay, so independents being part of the debate, the overall debate. We're going to have an RFK Jr. story coming up in a moment, but Andrew Yang with an interesting answer there.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is people want more options, right? They want more than just Trump and Biden. They want more than just Republicans and Democrats, and the people are speaking. Half of the country is independent and unaffiliated. We want more options. We want more open debates. And at the same time, we want good, strong candidates and not just spoilers who are going to send it one way or the other.
But because of the way the system's set up, though, it's hard not to be a spoiler. I mean, I think that's what he's getting at, right?
It is, and he's not wrong about that right now. But I think we also have to look down ballot, look at governors, look at senators, look at members of Congress. That's where we're seeing a lot of action as well. You know, in some places, people only have two options. In some places, if it's deep red or blue, you only have one option.
Right.
So I think Americans are saying we want more options, we want more diversity, we want more leaders, and especially leaders who put their country ahead of a party.
And thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.